The following is a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Hire Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business, featuring Senior Solutions. I've got with me, as I do every Friday, Matt Hire. Matt, first day of summer. Happy summer.
Yes, I love it. It's the longest day of the year?
Longest day of the year, which I feel is, like, why would you make the first day of summer be the longest day of the year? Because now I have to think every day summer is just winding down.
I know, and that's what Wade was talking about the other week. He said that we're a couple weeks away from 4th of July, which is halfway through summer, and It's like, no, summer just started.
For a lot of people, once 4th of July is over, summer's done.
Oh, don't say that. It's so beautiful out today.
I think Wade said that this morning on the morning show, too. So,
wow, he didn't have his coffee this morning.
Apparently not. And I fully disagree with that. I think you really got to milk summer for as long as possible. For me, summer's not over until the school supply shopping kicks in.
Oh, yes. Mine's Dodge County Fair.
Okay.
That's when it's like, oh, the kids are going back to school, and I'm probably ready for them to go back to school.
Of course, speaking of Dodge County Fair, you're going to be out there. We're going to do a live show out there from Dodge County Fairgrounds at the new stage being built in Radio Park.
Oh, new stage.
New stage,
Ooh.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a teaser out there for people. If you haven't had a chance to see or hear about it, it's going to be completely amazing. Brand new. Really, really durable. Not the old one with the tent and the old rickety wood, and we had to go out there and hammer down nails before every Dodge County Fair.
Oh, I liked it.
It's really nice. Being constructed by WDS Construction.
Okay.
So local company there. It's going to be amazing. And you'll be one of the first shows to get to be broadcasted live out there.
That's exciting. I can't wait, but I can wait.
Right. Yeah. Because let's get more of the summer in first.
Yes, we're on the first day of summer already talking about the fair.
That's just how it goes sometimes around here. We get all excited. Summer is a great time to get out and do things. Like the Brat Fry we got going on today. People have been hearing the reports out there at Verhaeg's Furniture in Waupun. I'll be heading out there myself after the show.
Excellent.
Doing a little bit of time, and maybe have a couple, 2, 3, 4 myself.
All right.
Might as well.
Pernitz Brats, they're good.
They are really good. But of course, we're not here to talk brats. We're not here to talk about how summer is fleeting. We're here to talk about everything that Hire Insurance has to offer for all the people in the community. Again, remind people what it is you guys do, what service you provide.
We help people, and that's, obviously very vague, but I mean, that's what we do. We help people with life, health, retirement, to sum it up. But, so we'll help you sign up for Medicare, sign up for Social Security, do income planning, 401k rollovers, also the journey of Medicare. What do we need besides Medicare? When do we sign up for Medicare? Should I sign up for Social Security now? Should I wait? We weigh those options, and you're ultimately making the decision. But we just are educators, and we just educate our community on and what is best for you. So there isn't a right answer. That's why I love my job, because everyone is different and every situation is different, and even your spouses. Every spouse is different. So, we basically just kind of brush you through everything and just kind of touch on every base. From estate planning, we have Rob Mielek that's in the office with us also, and just kind of get you through your journey of retirement. Let us worry about it, and then we'll take care of it. You just be retired.
There you go. We actually had Rob on earlier this week. It was great having him on, and he actually got a texted in question, which I think kind of shocked me. I wasn't expecting that.
Really?
But actually had two. We didn't get to the last one because it came in at the very, very end. So we have a holdover one we'll have for next show.
See, that's unique because estate planning, they're very unique questions.
They are very unique
and
questions.
Like situational. So, wow. Yeah, that's good. And that's why having Rob there is huge, because he's really just an asset. And we know some estate planning stuff, enough to be dangerous, but at the same time, having that lawyer there and having a very smart, educated lawyer, who's very good at his craft and stands up for, our clients, it's just great. And that's basically why we've been so successful, the last 20 years, ever since my mom started this, is because we can't be the best at everything. Right. So we surround ourselves with people that are very good at what they do, and because we want the very best for, the people that come in. So that's basically what my mom taught me at an early age when I started in this industry was, you're not going to know everything. It's way too much. So, craft, you're honing on your skills on certain things, and then surround yourself with people that know other things, and then that's why you don't just have one person. You might just deal with me, but we have a team,
Right.
And it goes to our support staff too. there's so many calls that I hear the phone ringing off the hook and I never get a question. So obviously they've been answering it or doing the paperwork or, changing addresses, all that stuff. So, it's basically not just me. I am on the radio.
Right.
But
And you do such a good job with it.
yeah, well, I don't know. I've heard some critiques from my family. But yeah, that's why I wouldn't be here without, my mom starting it, without our support staff, without Rob, without, our other investment guys, so it just having everyone together, that's what makes Hire Insurance, and we love supporting our community.
And if you want to get a question directly to Matt Hire, not to his support staff, and if they don't do a great job, now is a great time for you to do so. You can give us a call, 920-885-4446. That's our first call line. Or you can call or text us at 920-887-9595. And Jeff Hall, our great producer, is up in the studio, ready to direct those texts down to us when they come in. And you kind of touched on it really beautifully in the fact that, you guys kind of have to hone in on things. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot to know. It is ever changing. And that's why you guys always say, we aren't taught this. We aren't trained in this. There's a lot of misinformation. So coming to you is best. Coming to you to get questions answered. Even the simplest of questions, or what we think are the simplest of questions. Like for us, we're like, oh, this is going to be a no-brainer for you. And it may be, but it's still something that can be a hiccup in the road for people who are retiring because they don't know these things.
Yes, and I don't know everything, and that's why, I've teamed up and not just teamed up, like I've, befriended certain people. I've, all those continuing education conferences we have to go to and stuff. Well, we do meet people and we do, talk and talk about the industry. And it's really nice to talk about, certain things, because if I start talking to you about Medicare and
right.
you'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, and
sure.
So it's really cool. And, actually next week I do have a friend that I met at one of these conferences. His family's coming up from Louisiana.
That's awesome.
So he's been on the show once 2 years ago, but I told him how we're doing this, YouTube,
the video
all
and
this.
everything. Yeah.
So he's excited. So he's coming up. Him and his son are going to be on the show next week, and he can give his perspective on Medicare, the industry, and I think we just really hit it off at this conference because he's all about doing what's best for the client, helping them out. And even just his morals, like with, he's very family oriented. He's got his kids that are working in his office. And it's like, I'm just thinking, I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing,
exactly.
and what my mom started. So it's just really cool to hear his perspective. And there's many times where I'm calling him like, oh, can you believe that they're changing this now? They're doing this. And it's just nice to have all these resources, or a lot of times it's venting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, the government did this, but it's just really cool. And obviously he's from Louisiana, so he's got that accent.
The Creole accent.
Oh,
yeah.
yes. And he says he's Cajun, and it's just really, really funny. I make fun of him a lot, but then he makes fun of us a lot also. I mean, they call their coolers ice chest.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm like, it says on the sticker right here, cooler.
Right.
And when they're grilling things or smoking things, it's barbecue. And I'm like, oh, what kind of barbecue sauce? He's like, well, no, there's no barbecue sauce. I'm like,
but you said barbecue.
You said barbecue. And it's, so Icebox is their fridge. And it's like.
Does he make fun of you for Bubbler ever?
Well, I told him that. And then, he said that's weird. He's never heard that before.
Now I forget, in Louisiana, is it pop or Coke for everything?
They do. I don't know. I haven't.
We might have to ask him when he comes up.
I will. It's so fun just having these discussions, because we're in the same industry and, and like we're in the same country and just how like, they call a shopping cart a buggy. Yes.
Okay.
I know. And it's, so
Sure.
yes, we've had many endless nights talking about this, but we've built this relationship and his family's come up by us. We've gone down to Louisiana. We went to his daughter's wedding, and all from Medicare, just
Right.
going to a conference, and I was dreading like, oh, this is going to be so much fun, and then, you meet people like this and build relationships, and that's what, is just another rewarding part of the job. And, so yes, if you want to tune in next week, it should be exciting. Sorry for anything that happens in the future. Who knows?
No, it'll be great. It'll actually be the perfect day for it because that'll be right after we finish up the next Good Karma Brands John Moser Children's Radiothon. So I'll be 28, 29 hours in at that point.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to be at that point where I'm beyond tired, and I'm just, let's have fun. Let's do a great show, and it's going to be
Okay.
awesome. So we're going to have a good time.
All right,
I'll probably
that's-
be several Coca-Colas in at that point, and good to go.
Okay.
I do love how this illustrates, though, because we've talked before about certain things are universal. You know, the retirement age is across the board, doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, it's the same. Rules about Social Security, who can collect, whatever, things like that might be the same. But things like what Medicare plans are available can be very regional, very different depending what's going on.
Absolutely.
And if you're somebody who maybe you live here primarily, but you travel in the winter, or maybe when summer hits, you start doing tours of the United States in your RV, and you might still need to worry about prescriptions or visiting a doctor or doing other things while you're traveling. All that stuff that can really play into a plan that you need to think about, and you may not have all the answers to. So going to somebody like you helps.
Yeah, and that's it's like a proud dad moment. It's like, oh, look at you just learning all this
Thank
stuff.
you, thank you.
And like that's a lot of things. Like when we pick our health insurance, it's like even the non-health questions. Like yes, people disclose like health issues or past health concerns or family concerns with health. But like yes, like are you going to travel? Like we got to make sure we find you an insurance that you can travel with. That's accepted, out of state. Right. And then residency. We have a lot of snowbirds, but if you stay over 6 months, you're technically could be a resident of a different state.
Right.
And your supplements are based on, your age, gender, and zip code. So it's like, oh, all of a sudden I'll get a call. They're like, well, my supplement went up. Well, why'd it go up? And it's like, did you move? So like obviously a supplement is going to be more expensive in, a bigger city than it would be in Beaver Dam. So these are all situations, that we talk about, and people probably think like, "Are you just prying?"
Right.
Why do you want to know this?
Why do you care where I go every year?
I don't know if I'm going to go on vacation or not. And it's like, yes, and that's why we want to discuss, all these different things, and we never make decisions right away. I would rather educate you, give you some literature, look it over, and then write some questions down, do some research, be very careful doing research, or else the marketing teams will find you.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and that's why, I feel like a broken record when I say there isn't a right answer, because there's not. And that's a little bit frustrating when it comes to Medicare, because it's, they're like, well, my neighbor took this and from you, and now you're showing me this, and their situation is different. And that's why there really isn't a right answer. I should quote that.
You really should.
Or patent that.
Yeah.
Not patent it.
Get on a T-shirt somewhere.
Copyright it?
Copyright.
Copyright.
That's
it.
I want to touch on, you said this phrase, and it's so true, that they will find you. I discovered.
Sounds like a movie.
It does. But, we always joke about like, oh, we talk about this topic at the dinner table, and then next day you open up your phone, you got an ad for it. Happens all the time.
Absolutely.
Well, I happened to be having a conversation with my wife recently about life insurance. And I said, we don't have any really. We should really think about getting some. Just, like we've talked about the term life insurance, so that we can make sure the house is paid off. We can make sure those expenses are taken care
We're
of.
worried about this term of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And as we were talking about it and trying to figure out, the things related around that while you're sitting at the table, sure enough, later in the evening, I was sitting down and was scrolling through Facebook, and I saw an ad, and it was like, guaranteed $1 million life policy for just $9 a month, no medical questions. And I thought, something in my head says Matt Hire would be like, that sounds fishy. Mm-hmm. How do you have no medical questions, $1 million policy for only $9 a month? There's got to be something going on. So me being the curious guy, I popped the link open in an incognito window, didn't put any real information in, just started looking through the fine print. And there were spots in there where it's like, health questions may not qualify you for lowest possible monthly price, and not everyone will qualify for the full $1 million, benefit, and length of term applies, and, based on health rating, I think was one of the things at the bottom. Like, well, there's no medical questions. How are you health rating me? Like, what's going on? And there's always fine print. There's always little details. Something like that is pretty much always going to be way too good to be true, right?
But the kicker is, they sold you. They got you.
They did.
It's clickbait. And they, and you clicked. Mm-hmm. And that's where, but yes, you're obviously smart enough to know, like, hey,
Only because of the show.
Let's start reading. And, and that's the thing. Even with all these mailers they send you, it's so frustrating because they have it says Dodge County on it, and it's like, oh, like if we get something from the county, we probably should look at it or open it.
Absolutely.
And it says your appointment or you must call now. So yeah, you think it looks official, and the fine print, I don't know how legal it is, how tiny it is, because I'm squinting at it.
Right.
And it's just, they know that they're sending it to someone that's 64 years old. So that's why it's one of those, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Remember back in the day, we used to be like, I read it on the internet, so it's true.
Oh, yeah.
As a joke.
Yeah.
Now, I believe, everyone that reads things on the internet is like, oh, yeah, no, I saw it.
Automatically.
It was on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, and it might be, but they got you to call, and there is, rules where they have to put, this is a solicitation. You will be greeted by a licensed sales agent. We are not part of Medicare or Social Security or the federal government. So it all says that,
right?
And it's just like TV too, $1 million and stuff like that. And, they're quoting a 16-year-old kid that's ultra preferred health,
right?
And it's like, yes, there probably is $1 million policy for $10 a month,
right?
For a 5-year term. And it's
yeah, exactly.
That's where it gets to it. It's like these insurance companies build very large buildings, so they're not going to take on that much risk, and that's what insurance is. It's assuming risk. So with the whole life policies, they're more expensive, and obviously because that insurance company 100% has to pay that policy. The only way they wouldn't have to pay it is if you default on your payments.
Right.
So with the terms, typically they're only paying out, I would say 10%.
Right.
5 to 10% of those term policies they actually pay out. And those are for unexpected losses. So that's why yes, I have $100,000 debt for my house and this. It's like, well, let's get something to cover that so the family doesn't have to move if you pass away. Yeah, and so it's situational, and life insurance there's so many policies, and people bring them in, and I try to look them over, but they're just coming up with new companies and new policies, it just keeps going up, the premium, or your benefits cut in half once you turn 65, or they won't pay you a death benefit if you pass away in the first 2 years.
Right.
What?
Right. It's like, so then why am I paying for the first 2 years?
Why did I
what's going on?
And that's why you got to be very careful. There's so much contractual language or. That's a big deal. So we want to make sure you know what you're signing up for. And that's where you don't have to come just to us. But if you are, seeking life insurance, I would go somewhere that is reputable, someone local, because there could be a claim. And you want to go back to that person and be like, hey, all right, what do I do now? Because you're already distraught.
You don't want to be trying to remember what website you went to when you bought it the first time. And
Right. And that's where, Rob can help you with that too, putting things in trust, not putting the life insurance in trust, but just your trust is your Bible. So everything is there, and it's transparency for the kids, and everyone knows yep, these are the beneficiaries. Mom and dad had this life insurance. They had this funeral trust. They had, you're the executor, you're the power of attorney for health, you're for financial, but everyone's on the same page, because when unexpected things happen or a death happens, it gets a little chaotic.
Right.
People come out of the woodwork.
Don't they always?
Yes. So we want everything just very transparent and clear, and then it still does not make things easy, obviously emotionally,
right?
But it does for just accepting everything and going on and moving forward. And that's the last thing you want is families not talking to each other over, mom's jewelry. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. But it happens.
It does happen. We have reached the bottom of the hour, so I'm going to let everybody know that this is a paid program. The advice and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Hire Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. I want to pivot a little bit and talk a little bit about retirement, because I had a great conversation earlier this week with a family friend who they are about 5 years away from retirement.
Okay.
And they had in their mind this picture of what retirement was going to look like. They've been working and planning towards that. They've got their retirement professional, much like yourself, somewhere over in Minnesota. I don't know why they live in Minnesota, but I won't judge them too much. And we were having a great conversation about their retirement plans, and they said, but now that's all being thrown out the window because we want to totally change what we want to do. So what do you mean? Because before their plan was, we're going to get a little cabin in the North Woods, and we're going to spend 90% of our time up there, and I'm going to find some place that's near a little lake so I can go fishing off that little lake, and that's just going to be my retirement until I keel over in the cabin.
Sounds amazing.
And I was like, awesome. He's like, I'm going to have minimal internet, if any internet, whatever. He was ready to detach from the world. So it sounds like a beautiful time.
Except for radio. You got to have radio.
Yeah, right. You got to have a radio. Yeah. And then him and his wife recently decided to take a cruise. And before they left on their cruise, they left from Florida. He went fishing, deep sea fishing, caught a big fish. I don't know what he said he got, like a grouper or something. I don't know. But it was the most amazing thing for him. And he was like, this is what I want to do. Came back ready to tell his wife, like, screw all the rest of it. This is our retirement now. Well, she got to talking with a bunch of people down there, did a farmer's market thing, was really loving the weather, all this other stuff. And she's like, oh man, I could do this every day. And so she's like, maybe. And then the conversation started rolling. And now they're reaching out to their retirement professional and going, is it too late to change? Is it too late to redirect? Is it too late to come up with something new? And so I'm going to put it on you. You got somebody who's been working with you for years and years and years. They got a picture in their mind. They know what they want to do. And then they come to you and say out of the blue, hey, we went deep sea fishing and hit a farmer's market in Florida and scratch it all.
So it's the power of technology. Obviously they've been saving for a while, for a goal. They've been setting goals, which is huge, which means, they do have some retirement assets, but now we have to figure this out where it's like, okay, we snowbirding, so is this a situation? Are we selling our house and downsizing? Are we just having an apartment up here? Are we fully moving down there? So it's very situational. How much is a place going to cost on there? Are you renting? Are you buying? Is it in a campground? Is it a oceanfront home?
Right.
So it's very situational with that. But like, that's what our technology does is, it shows us, if it is feasible, or we could say, yes, it is if you find a place for X amount of dollars, and you sell your home for X amount of dollars. And, and that's why, because we don't want debt, like to take on these huge, debt because, this is our retirement income. And it's not for that. It's for being retired.
Right.
So, but I mean, yes, do people change? It could be a widowed spouse all of a sudden being like, all right, this was his dream, having that and stuff. I don't like being up there by myself, so like, yes, but then it comes to family, kids, grandchildren. You want to move down to Florida when all the kids are up in Minnesota?
Right.
So there is a lot of changes that happen, in stages, the go-go years and slow-go years, no-go years. So like, is this a stage, or is this like permanent? And we just kind of have to talk it out and the realities of it. But yeah, if the numbers make sense, that's the best feeling ever to just be like, let's do it. Absolutely. Thumbs up.
All right. So changes are a possibility. I like that.
Oh, they are. It's just, the only way it's a possibility is if we are setting goals. We are, planning for this and stuff. Because they were planning for something, obviously purchasing something up north. So, it's just a different location.
Now, we talked before about what you kind of feel to be like the ideal age to come in and start talking to you about retirement. And I thought you had said, was 59? Was that the age you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, 59 is, typically we're still working, but we're getting to the age where, okay, well, at 59 and a half, I have access to this money. And it's like, well, no, I don't because I'm working. It's like, no, technically you still do, depending on the plan.
Right.
So you could start putting your money in an IRA, or we just basically have access to it at that time.
Now that's accessing the 401ks?
Yes.
Okay.
So you could do like what we call an in-service, and you could take some of it out and put it in another account and just and still keep contributing to it. and not all of it, just some of it, where we're kind of diversifying out, spreading our allocations out. The more buckets, the better. So that we could make it more conservative. We could definitely not make it more aggressive. But it's all situational where we're starting to plan, and get that process rolling, because then 3 years later, 62, are we turning on Social Security? And then that's when we have so much more time. And so typically when you come in at 59, we don't do anything, right? But just like start to get the needs, wants, cabin up north, move down south, fishing every day. We start to get the goals, and that's where it's like, okay, and we start laying out assets. We start laying out debt, our debt and our liabilities. Like, okay, well, what do we need? What's our goal? Like, what should we have paid off? And it's not the cliche thing with retirement is no debt. I mean, yes, that'd be great, but that doesn't mean you do not have to have any debt. It's very situational, but because if you have a house that's worth $300,000 and you still owe 50, 60, 70, even 100,000, like if you pass away, you're not lopsided. It's not like the kids have to pay this money. The sale of the home will still have equity.
Right.
So, and they're like, well, yeah, my mortgage is only $1,000. It's hard to get an apartment for that.
Yeah.
So that's why, as long as it's part of your income plan, it might make sense. Oh, and your interest rate is only 3%. Well, that's impossible nowadays to get a 3% interest rate.
I think I heard it was just like lowered to 6 point something or other recently. So
yeah, so that's why we don't want to do anything drastic, but we can plan this stuff, and the sooner you come in, the better. But at 59, this is like when we really start thinking about it, like, because the whole time we just work, get our paycheck every 2 weeks. You're putting money in, it goes up, it goes down. You might not even look at the statements, but like that, there's so much important and valuable information on this, because when you signed up for your 401k, you're in your 30s or 20s. You have no idea what it's allocated in, or did you shift it to conservative, or did they do it for you? Right. And those are the questions that you want to look at. And that's why we do statement reviews. Bring your statements in, because they are clear as mud. It's almost like a Medicare explanation of benefits, right? It's like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I think the more people are educated on like what the statements are saying, and what the returns are, and what their fees are, what it's allocated in, because it's basically, Wade even said it. I look at the front page. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking for that number, and if that number looks good, I'm all right.
He has never gone to page 2. And I can't blame him, because before I did this, that's what I did.
Right.
So that's why we basically at that time, the accumulation phase has started, right, or is almost done.
Right.
Now what we have to do is the distribution phase, and that's the most thoughtful process of retirement.
Now, when it comes to the distribution, obviously that money coming out of the 401k is taxed, right?
Yes.
Now, is it still taxed if you roll it into some sort of IRA as opposed to putting it in your pocket?
So if you put it in your pocket, it's taxable.
Right.
And that's when you're working, we don't want to be doing that, because you could raise a tax bracket.
Right.
That's scary stuff. I mean, sometimes it might make sense for certain people. It's very situational with that also. But yes, if you roll money over and don't touch it, you have 60 days, and then basically it is it's putting money from left pocket to right pocket.
Right.
So it's just in another account. You didn't touch it, so it's not a taxable event, and it still will defer your taxes.
Now, with your 401k, I know you can set up it's like an annual, or not annual, but like a monthly disbursement type thing, right? Like you get a check from it.
Yep.
So can you continue to get that check and just have that check roll in, or do you have to lump sum it out?
Chunks.
Okay.
Yep. If you start getting checks, you're going to pay taxes.
All right, then. So avoid those taxes, which is part of what we talked about that you guys do, looking at the tax bracket and looking at the benefits tax-wise. Obviously, you've said you guys aren't necessarily accountants.
Nope.
But make friends with one, because how you're being taxed on things like your 401k can affect a lot of different things.
Oh, yeah. Our accountants are our best friend. I mean, they are the ones giving thumbs up for things and the planning, because we have technology that shows, but the accountants are up to date with, your financial pictures also. and like upcoming, just they're doing continuing education. They know all these laws that are changing, the tax brackets that are changing in 2026. So yes, that's why your accountants, your advisors, and your insurance agents are your best friends in retirement. Speed dial. They are on retainer.
It's interesting to think of how the world's changed. I remember when I was a kid, I was always told, like, okay, you got to have a car guy. Know a guy from mechanics and know a car guy. Know a guy who can do wiring. Know a guy who can do plumbing. And nobody ever said, know a retirement guy. Know a tax guy. Know a lawyer. Like, those were never things that came up. And now as I'm getting older, it's like, do you got a retirement guy? Do you got somebody that handles that for you? Do you have an accountant? Like, why would I need an accountant? I don't have enough money for an accountant. Well, apparently, that's still good to have.
Yeah, well, I mean, taxes are scary.
Oh, yeah.
For anyone. Like even when I used to do my own taxes, they were simple. I just did them online because my wife got a W-2. I got a W-2.
Right.
Right.
Easy
So
enough.
it's like, put the numbers in and it was good. I was still scared. Like I felt like the IRS is going to call me and be like, hey, you didn't put box 22 in, and that's.
Forgot to carry the one, buddy.
Yes. And that's kind of like, if my toilet's broken, I call a plumber.
Exactly.
I could go to Menards 30 times and it just scares me because I don't want to, damage more than what's already done.
Right.
So, and that's why we're trying to give you peace of mind. And that's essentially what we do with our local community.
And when it comes to that, obviously not breaking things or making things worse, that's why when people do have their retirement planning through you and they have those moments where it's, hey, we decided we're going to buy matching Harleys and ride all over the place now that we're retired, we're going to pull a bunch of money. Maybe call first. Maybe check in, see how that's going to affect things. You pull from the wrong spot, you might get taxed on it. You might pull from a place where you're getting, a 5% return, and you decide that instead you're going to take on a loan or whatever, and maybe you can do a loan for a cheaper interest rate or.
Well, so we advise.
Right.
This is your decision.
Right.
Right. Like it's if we're like, well, I don't know about that. They're like, nope, I'm doing it. I can't say no.
Right.
So it's we will give you the best of our knowledge, educated decisions.
Right.
But it's ultimately your decision. And that's why. But usually we solve our problems by showing repercussions. Like, well, here's how much taxes you're going to pay. Here's how much you really have to pull out to get that amount of money. And then it kind of lingers, or we get the accountant a call. But that's not too common, obviously. But I did want to mention something before. I'm kind of sidetracking now. Okay, so you know how we help people sign up for Social Security and Medicare?
Right.
We do that on Social Security's website.
Right.
Well, the government made another change.
Great.
I know.
Is this like new?
Well, as of this week, I signed up a couple people for Social Security and Medicare, and we had to create an account. They're like, I don't have one. Okay. So now you need a smartphone.
You need a smartphone.
Yes. And I have many clients that have the track phones, the flip phones that they just put minutes on. Well, so now what we have to do is they took away the username and password. So any account that was created before September 21st of 2018, you cannot use that anymore. So you have to create a login.gov or an ID.me password.
Right.
A username and password, or account, I should say. So you set it up. So it started normal. We set up the username, your email's your username, your password, okay. And then it goes to, you have to take a picture of your driver's license, front and back.
Okay.
So we
That
did.
might make you a little wary if they don't realize it's something they have to do.
And this is AI times 10.
Right.
So they did that, and then the next step was take a picture of your face. No hat, no smiling.
Okay, like it's trying to compare.
Yes, and it's like real time. So it does it as soon as you do it. You click submit, and it takes about a minute, and it verifies. But one time was all right, but the second time we did it, like our office has the fluorescent lights like in here. There's a glare, so it kept glaring, and their camera wasn't the greatest, and we were trying, and then it said you have 4 more times to try, and if you don't, you have to wait 6 hours. And it's like,
Great.
I can't schedule another appointment 6 hours from now. I have baseball practice.
Right.
Yeah. So, and the only thing that scares me about this is because, some people come in and they just lost their job. They have to go on Medicare, or they have to sign up for Social Security. And we're pretty good at just, knocking those accounts out and signing you up and getting it going. Well, now this makes me nervous
Right.
You know, like so the only other option we can do is we can call Social Security and we can set up a phone appointment. The problem with that is they are probably a couple months out. So they're booking in August for phone appointments right now.
Which, if you're looking for something today, that's
So I would advise at least, even if you have a track phone, use one of your kids' phones, have one of your kids help you to try to set up this account. Because if we are at a standstill with this account, nothing gets done.
No, do they find that by still going to, what is it, login.gov?
So you go to ssa.gov,
Okay.
right? Social Security's website. And then when you click sign in, it's going to have two tabs. It's going to have login.gov, which is in blue, or ID Me, which is in green. But the process is the same because they're trying to create a universal federal government login for each person, for the DMV, for IRS.
Which does make sense. It's
Right.
just a simplified process would be nice.
And I understand it's for security purposes and it's verifying who you actually are. So that it is good, but not everyone has smartphones.
Right.
Not everyone has emails, and that's where we're running into some situations where the world is transitioning to tech.
Right.
And we're in a digital world, and we just have to. There's no option. So many people don't even know they have an email. I'm like, well, you have a smartphone, you have an email. And they're like, no. And then they show me, I'm like, yep, click that button. I'm like, yep, you have this email. And they typically, to have a smartphone, they create you an email.
Yeah.
So that's why, I can help assist. If you have a smartphone, I will help you assist. It's different.
Right.
But if I look like it's the first time I've ever done it, because it's like the third or fourth time.
Who'd have thought you'd have to be IT tech support now at work?
Taking pictures of my clients, and they're actually selfies.
Right.
So I have to hold the phone. I can't see it, but you have to hold it steady for 3 seconds until it's clear. It automatically takes a picture. And I don't know why it does that. It takes the picture, but then all of a sudden when we submit it, it says it's blurry. Which is fine, you resubmit it. But then when I read that, you have 4 more tries, and if it doesn't work, you have to wait 6 hours.
They must be taking a page out of Apple's books. I know if you try your Apple login wrong too many times, you have to wait 5 minutes. Then it's half an hour, and then an hour.
Yeah, and so that's why technology is great when it works.
Right.
I always say that, and our power went out yesterday, and I was in the middle of an appointment. I was like, oh. I realized I don't have windows in my office. It's pretty dark. So, and when you don't have internet,
Right.
and you can't show people everything you're doing, it's just crazy how what happens if that happens. I got on my hotspot with my phone and hooked up I made it work, but it's crazy how dependent we are on technology and how things like this, but it's transitioning.
Right.
So we have to do it. If we want to do it ourselves and efficiently, quickly, if you're willing to wait a couple months and stuff like that, so that's why coming in sooner is better.
Right.
We got to get a game plan, because if I'm going to sign you up for Medicare, Social Security, supplements, Advantage plans, I need to do the government stuff first. So having that account is so valuable. We're like, yeah, this is my username, this is my password. Yeah, okay, boom, we're in. It's up on the TV screen. We're signing up. So if that is possible for someone to do it, or just at least give it an attempt,
Right.
that would be great. I believe the ADRC does help people with this also.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
So-
They do a lot of things to help out people when it comes to this kind of areas. So they're a nice resource to have as well. Yeah.
Yes. So if that's a resource, yes, you can try that. But just having that gets the ball rolling, and that's step one when you come in. So if you could do that, that'd be great for me, because it's new to me, and
Right.
it's going to be evolving probably and make it easier. But with all the security, breaches, I get why they're doing this. But wow, it is.
Yeah.
It was almost creepy, how they're taking your selfie, and I don't know if they're copying your license or if it's facial recognition.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. So please try to create an account if you can.
There you go. And this really, I think for me, exemplifies as well, why it's nice having a local advisor, somebody who's there to help you in the community, who you trust. Because if you're doing this all yourself, you might be like, well, this doesn't seem right. Why do they want a picture of my ID? Am I on the right website? Am I on the wrong website? Why are they taking selfies? I don't do pictures on my phone, or my phone can't do this. I didn't know I had an email. There's a lot of things that might freak you out technology-wise because you're not used to it.
Oh, yeah.
And talking to somebody locally who knows what's going on and can say, yep, this is new, and here's what we got to do.
Yeah, when I first started, they wanted a credit card, the last 4 digits of a credit card in your name. And
Great.
people are like, no. And I have to click on the little info button,
Right.
the little I, and it says, we are not charging this credit card. They're just verifying with Credit Bureau.
Right?
So it's that was another way. I'm glad they got rid of that. So
I know people who don't have a credit card.
yes, I agree. And that's, but once again, we were stuck.
Right?
So we have to jump through the hoops that they want us to, and I get it, but it is frustrating.
I can imagine it would be. Well, if you don't want to jump through the hoops alone, I highly recommend making your way over to see Matt and the team over there at Hire Insurance, located right there at the
Heritage Mall.
Yep, there you go. And I heard you might be giving Wade a tour someday of the back area, or letting him see it.
Wade's been talking to you, huh?
Yeah, I just it sounds like it would be the creepiest thing to walk through an old mall. So if that ends up happening, if you and the team over there get a chance, let me know. I'd love to walk through with you guys.
I can do that.
I love it. But otherwise, got to give you guys a call, 920-887-0580, or swing on in. Your summer hours right now are?
We're open 9 to noon, 1 to 5, but then on Fridays, we close a whopping hour early.
There you go.
So we are closed at 4 today.
Happy hour starts a little bit sooner than at Hire Insurance on Fridays. Otherwise, it does take us to the end of the show for Taking Care of Business here with Matt Hire and Senior Solutions. The only thing left to say is,
when it's time to retire,
call Hire. This has been a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Hire Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.